Hello and welcome, UPSC aspirants, to the Deep Dive.
Hi there.
This is our focused look at today's key current affairs. It's May 3rd, 2025, and this is part one of our analysis, all geared towards your UPSC preparation.
Exactly. Our goal is to, cut through the noise and give you the core information you need from today's news. Saves you time.
And you might notice some topics we've touched on before. Think of those as useful revision opportunities.
Definitely. Today we're covering quite a range, actually. Environmental schemes, big infrastructure projects, some economic ideas, governance news.
Right, a real mix. So remember to like and subscribe if you find this helpful for staying updated.
Good point.
Okay, let's dive into our first topic. The Green Hydrogen Certification Scheme of India, the GHCI. This is from the MNRE under the National Green Hydrogen Mission. What's the big picture here?
Well, the main aim is pretty ambitious. India wants to position itself as a major global player in green hydrogen, a production and export hub.
A global hub. Okay, so this scheme is about credibility, transparency.
Precisely. It's about setting clear, verifiable standards so that when India exports green hydrogen, buyers globally trust that it genuinely is green. It also helps attract investment.
So what actually makes hydrogen green according to this GHCI? Is there a specific number?
Yes, there is. It's quite specific. The non-biogenic greenhouse gas emissions, they have to be below 2 kilograms of co-euros equivalent per kilogram of hydrogen produced.
2 kilograms, and that's measured. How?
It's averaged over a 12-month period, so it's not just a snapshot. It's sustained performance.
That sounds pretty strict. How do they actually check this? The verification process must be robust.
It is. It's comprehensive. They verify the renewable energy source used, obviously, and then track emissions across the whole production chain.
And who does the verifying?
Producers have to appoint independent accredited carbon verification agencies, ACVs. These ACVs are recognized by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, the BE.
Right, some independent auditors, essentially.
Exactly. Like a financial audit, but for carbon.
Are there different kinds of certificates, or is it just one green stamp?
No, there's a sequence. It starts with concept and facility-level certificates, so checking the plans and readiness.
Okay.
Then you get provisional, and finally the final certificate. That final one is based on actual verified emissions data.
And that's the one that really counts?
Yes. It's mandatory if you want government incentives or if you want to sell the hydrogen domestically as green.
Makes sense. How is ongoing compliance tracked after they get the certificate?
Good question. Producers need to keep detailed records production data, emissions data, for at least 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah. And the whole thing is guided by a standardized MRV framework. That's monitoring, reporting, and verification. It ensures transparency and, traceability.
You mentioned global standards earlier. How does GHCI compare internationally?
That's a key point. It aligns with ISO 19870.2all23, which is the international standard for life cycle GHG assessments. This alignment is crucial. It makes Indian green hydrogen comparable globally, builds investor trust, and could potentially open doors to international carbon credit markets.
And the certificates themselves, what info do they contain?
They're issued in multiples of 100 kilograms of hydrogen. They detail the emission intensity, the production pathway, things like that. There's a small fee, but only for the final certificate.
What if someone messes up, fails to meet the standard after getting certified?
There are consequences. The MNRE can actually withdraw the certificate if emissions go over the limit or if they don't get the final certification done on time.
Okay.
And repeat offenses could lead to penalties. So there are teeth to enforce compliance.
Right. This is definitely important for environment policy and renewable energy topics in the syllabus.
Absolutely. Government schemes, international commitments, it touches on several areas.
Okay, let's shift gears. Topic 2 takes us to Gujarat, specifically Chandola Lake. There was a High Court decision recently.
Yes, the Gujarat High Court upheld a demolition drive near the lake in Ahmedabad.
Demolitions.
Okay. Yeah.
But what about the lake itself? Anything significant for our listeners?
Well, for your history and geography prep, it's interesting. It's an artificial lake established way back by the wife of a Mughal Sultan of Ahmedabad, Taj Khan Nari Ali.
Mughal era. Wow. So it's quite old.
Indeed. And it's still important today. Covers about 1,200 hectares, supplies water to nearby areas. It's also apparently almost perfectly circular.
Huh. And any other historical links?
Yeah, it's connected to the Karakat Canal Scheme. That's one of Gujarat's oldest irrigation projects, meant originally for rice cultivation. Shows early water engineering.
Any ecological significance? Wetlands, biodiversity?
Yes, definitely. It's divided into Chota and Bada Chandola, and it's a habitat for various birds, cormorants, painted storks, spoonbills. So it has environmental value, too.
And I read something about a tomb nearby.
Correct. The tomb of Shah Alam, who was a revered Muslim religious teacher in Ahmedabad. It's right next to the lake, built in the late 15th century, apparently quite ornate.
Okay, interesting mix of history, environment, and recent news there.
Mm-hmm.
Moving south now to Kerala and a major infrastructure project. Vizhinjam Port. The PM is set to inaugurate it. What makes this port stand out?
Vizhinjam is a big deal. It's India's first dedicated transshipment port.
First dedicated transshipment port.
Exactly. And also India's first semi-automated port.
Mm-hmm.
It's a public-private partnership. Adani Group operates it. Kerala government has a majority stake. Costs around 8,900 crore rupees.
So transshipment means cargo moves from one big ship to smaller ones, or vice versa, without needing to clear customs fully.
Essentially, yes. It acts as a hub. Large mother vessels dock, unload cargo onto smaller feeder vessels that then go to other, perhaps shallower ports, or the other way around.
What about the tech and engineering? What's special?
Several things. It has India's deepest breakwater. That's a major feat.
Okay.
It also features India's first home-built AI-powered vessel traffic management system, developed with IIT Madras.
AI-powered AVMS. Impressive.
Yeah. Plus, fully automated yard cranes, remotely operated ship-to-shore cranes, aiming for high efficiency.
I remember reading something about sand. Littoral drift.
Yes. That's a key natural advantage. Vizhinjam has very minimal littoral drift, the movement of sand along the coast.
Which means
significantly lower maintenance dredging costs compared to many other Indian ports that constantly battle siltation. That's a big economic plus.
And its location?
Strategically brilliant. It's just 10 nautical miles off a major international shipping lane. And it has natural deep water, so it can handle the biggest container ships easily.
So the main strategic goal is to handle cargo that currently goes elsewhere.
Precisely. Right now, something like 75% of India's transshipment cargo gets handled at foreign ports. Colombo, Singapore, Dubai.
75%, that's huge.
It is. It costs us foreign exchange and adds to logistics time and cost. Vizhinjam aims to capture a big chunk of that traffic, bring it on shore.
So it puts India on the map with hubs like Shanghai and Singapore.
That's the ambition, yes. Connects us directly to those major global routes.
Are there plans beyond the port itself? Connectivity?
Definitely. The vision is a multimodal logistics hub. Direct highway link via NH66, a new cloverleaf interchange for smooth road traffic, and a railway connection is planned too.
Right, integrating it fully. Okay, this is vital for economy, infrastructure, geography.
And even some science and tech with the AI VMS.
Good point. Let's shift now to an economic concept. The orange economy. The PM mentioned India's booming orange economy. What exactly is that?
The orange economy is basically another name for the creative economy. It covers sectors based on creativity, culture, and intellectual property.
Creative economy. Okay, can you give some examples?
Sure, it's broad. Think advertising, architecture, arts, crafts, design, fashion, film, video, photography, music, performing arts, publishing.
So the arts and media mostly.
Those are core, yes, but also R&D, software development, computer games, electronic publishing, even TV and radio. Anywhere creativity and skill generate economic value and cultural meaning.
Where did the name orange economy come from? It's quite distinctive.
It was popularized by a couple of Colombian economists, Felipe Buitrago and Ivan Duque. They used orange because it often symbolizes culture, creativity, identity.
Interesting choice. Is it significant globally?
Oh, yes. UNESCO estimates it's about 3% of global GDP and provides around 30 million jobs worldwide.
3% of global GDP? Wow.
Yeah. Key traits are that it's knowledge-based, driven by individual talent, constantly innovating, often producing unique things rather than mass products, and increasingly digital.
So when the PM talks about it booming in India, it's highlighting growth in these creative sectors.
Exactly. It's recognizing their economic contribution jobs, wealth generation, innovation alongside their cultural value.
Got it. Relevant for economy, culture, current events.
Definitely.
Okay, next up, Palamu Tiger Reserve in Jharkhand. There's some positive news from there.
Yes, a really positive development for conservation. A village called Jaigir, which was inside the core area of the reserve.
Inside the core area?
Yes. It's now become the first village there to be completely relocated outside the core zone. This took years of effort.
That's huge for creating an undisturbed habitat for tigers.
Absolutely crucial. An inviolate space.
Can you remind us about Palamu? Location, size?
Sure. It's in western Jharkhand, Chotnagpur Plateau region. spans Ladhar and Garhwa districts. It also includes Betla National Park.
Right.
Total area is just over 1,000 square kilometers. Core area is about 414 square kilometers. Buffer is 600 square kilometers.
And it has historical significance in Project Tiger, right?
It does. It was one of the original 9 tiger reserves when Project Tiger started.
One of the first 9.
And interestingly, it was the very first reserve in the world where they conducted a tiger census using scientific methods.
Really? The first globally?
That's the record, yeah. A milestone in wildlife science.
What's the landscape like there? Rivers, terrain?
It's undulating terrain, valleys, hills, plains. Rivers like the North Koyal, Oranga, and Burha flow through it.
Okay.
But it's generally a drought-prone area. Only the Burha River is perennial, flows year-round. Geologically, it's nice granite limestone. Also has minerals like bauxite and coal.
And the forests and animals?
Mainly moist deciduous and dry deciduous forests. Sal and bamboo are very common.
Sal and bamboo?
Yeah, good bamboo distribution. Fauna includes, of course, the tiger, Asiatic elephant, leopard, gray wolf, wild dog, toll, gaur, sloth bear, and the four-horned antelope is found there too.
Quite a diversity. Okay, important for environment and ecology, geography.
And conservation efforts, relocation issues, which need sensitive handling, of course.
Right. Now let's turn to geopolitics and resources. Ukraine's critical minerals. There's a new deal with the U.S.
Yes, a strategic minerals agreement was just signed. It gives the U.S. preferential access to Ukrainian mineral projects and sets up a joint investment fund, partly focused on reconstruction using these resources.
We hear critical minerals and rare earth elements a lot. Can you quickly define those?
Sure. Rare earth elements, REEs, are 17 specific metals, chemically similar. They're vital for things like strong magnets in EVs, smartphones, missiles, wind turbines. Critical minerals is a broader list. The U.S. Geological Survey lists 50. Includes REEs, but also things like lithium, nickel, cobalt, graphite. They're deemed critical because they're essential for defense, green energy, electronics, and have no easy substitutes. Supply chain security is key.
And Ukraine has significant amounts of these.
It does. Ukraine holds deposits of 22 out of the 34 minerals the EU considers critical.
22. Wow. Which ones specifically?
Major ones include various rare earths like lanthanum, cerium, neodymium, also lithium, nickel, manganese, beryllium, gallium, zirconium, graphite, titanium. Quite a list.
Any standouts where Ukraine has a really large share?
Yes. Graphite is a big one. Estimates suggest Ukraine might have around 20% of global graphite resources, crucial for EV batteries and nuclear reactors.
20%.
Yeah. And lithium reserves are also substantial, maybe 500,000 tons among Europe's largest. Titanium's another major one, important for aerospace and defense.
So strategically, this makes Ukraine very important, especially as an alternative to China.
Exactly. China currently dominates global RE production and processing. Ukraine offers a potential alternative source for Western countries looking to diversify their supply chains and reduce that dependency. This U.S. deal highlights that geopolitical angle.
Very clear link between resources and international relations there.
Absolutely.
Okay, back to India's parliament. Private members' bills, or PMGs, the vice president recently called them a potential gold mine. What are they?
A private member's bill is simply a proposed law introduced by an MP who isn't a minister. Could be an elected MP, could be a nominated one.
So anyone but a government minister.
Right, and the MP themselves is responsible for drafting the bill, unlike government bills prepared by ministries.
How do they get introduced and discussed?
An MP needs to give 1 month's notice to introduce a PMB. They often reflect an MP's own views or maybe issues raised by constituents or the opposition, things the government might not be focusing on.
Is there dedicated time for them?
Yes. In the Lok Sabha, it's usually the last 2.5 hours on a Friday. In the Rajya Sabha, it's similar, but on alternate Fridays.
So time is set aside, but how many actually become law? The goldmine comment suggests potential, but what's the reality?
The reality is very few actually pass. Historically, since independence, only 14 PMBs have become acts of parliament.
Only 14 since 1947.
Yes, and the last one was way back in 1970.
1970?
Yeah. If you look at the recent Lok Sabha, the 17th one, hundreds were introduced, over 700 in each house. But very, very few were even discussed, let alone passed.
Why so few discussed, even with dedicated time?
Often parliamentary disruptions or government business takes priority. In the current 18th Lok Sabha, up to the budget session, hardly any MPs even introduced them and none were discussed. So while they can be a source of ideas, the path to becoming law is extremely difficult.
So more of a platform for raising issues than actual lawmaking in practice.
Largely, yes, though the ideas they raise can sometimes influence government policy later on, important for understanding parliamentary procedure and the role of individual MPs.
Okay. Next, Indo-Pacific Maritime Domain Awareness IPMDA. The U.S. certified a possible sale to India related to this.
That's right. IPMDA is an initiative led by the Quad countries, India, U.S., Japan, Australia.
A quad. Okay.
Launched in Tokyo back in May 2022. The main goal is to track dark shipping vessels, hiding their identity, and generally improve maritime awareness across the Indo-Pacific.
Which parts of the Indo-Pacific specifically?
The focus is on three main areas: the Pacific Islands, Southeast Asia, and the Indian Ocean region, IOR, critical waterways.
How does it work? What's the technology?
It uses commercial satellite data, specifically radio frequency or RF data, to monitor maritime activity in near real time. The idea is to share this intelligence with partner countries in the region to help them protect their waters, their exclusive economic zones.
And the U.S. sale to India, what does that involve?
It's a potential foreign military sale worth about $131 million. It includes maritime surveillance tech, specifically the Sea Vision software and upgrades.
Sea Vision.
Yes, it's a key tool for tracking vessels, coastal surveillance. The package also includes training, technical support, logistics, basically helping India integrate and use this capability within the IPMDA framework.
Got it. Crucial for security, international relations, Quad dynamics.
Definitely. Maritime security is a huge focus in the Indo-Pacific.
Moving to our second to last topic, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, PMLA. There's been a noticeable increase in actions under this law.
Yes, the Enforcement Directorate, the ED, has significantly stepped up its actions under PMLA, especially since around 2014. It signals a tougher stance on economic crimes.
Can you briefly recap the PMLA itself? It came in early 2000s?
Correct. Enacted in 2003. Main aims: prevent money laundering, confiscate assets derived from crime, the proceeds of crime, and tackle related offenses. Section 3 defines money laundering. It's been amended since then to strengthen it.
And the recent data shows.
For this fiscal year, 2024-25, the ED started 775 new PMLA investigations and filed 333 prosecution complaints. That's a high volume of activity.
What powers does the ED have under PMLA?
They're the main enforcement agency. They can investigate, attach property suspected of being linked to laundered money, and file cases in court. The law also requires banks and other financial entities to keep records and verify client identities, KYC norms.
Are there specific courts or bodies involved?
Yes. There's an adjudicating authority that confirms property attachments, an appellate tribunal to hear appeals, and designated special courts that try PMLA cases. The Act also allows for international cooperation.
Any other related laws the ED is focusing on?
Yes, FEMA cases, Foreign Exchange Management Act, are a priority, and under the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act of 2018, they've filed applications against 24 individuals, got 14 declared as fugitive offenders, and confiscated assets worth over 900 crore.
Okay, so a strong focus on financial crimes. Important for governance, economy,
and the functioning of enforcement agencies.
Right. Finally, our last topic for part 1. The Rishikesh-Karnaprayag Tunnel T8 in Uttarakhand, set to be India's longest rail tunnel.
That's right. Tunnel T8, part of this major rail link project, will be 14.57 kilometers long.
14.57 kilometers long?
It is. It will surpass the current longest, T50, on the Kashmir rail link, which is about 12.77 kilometers. So, a new record for Indian railways.
Tell us more about the project itself.
T8 is a twin tunnel on one section of the overall 125-kilometer Rishikesh-Karnaprayag broad gauge line. The project is being handled by Rail Vikas Nigam Limited, RVNL, with L&T doing the execution.
And it's mostly tunnels.
Amazingly, yes. Over 83% of the entire 125-kilometer line, about 104 kilometers, is underground in tunnels. Shows the challenge of building railways in the Himalayas.
Incredible. What will the impact on travel be?
Huge. It'll connect Rishikesh to Karnaprayag, slashing the travel time from around 7 hours by road down to just 2 hours by train.
7 hours to 2.
Yeah. Big boost for connectivity for 5 districts: Dehradun, Tehri Garhwal, Pari Garhwal, Rudraprayag, and Chamoli.
What kind of engineering techniques are they using for these Himalayan tunnels? Must be complex.
Very complex. For a large part of T8, about 10.4 kilometers, they use tunnel boring machines, PBMs. First-time TBMs have been used for a Himalayan rail project.
These huge machines.
Massive. 2,200 tons each, imported from Germany. Bigger diameter than the ones used for Delhi Metro. For the trickier geological sections, about 4 kilometers, they used the new Austrian tunneling method, NATM.
And safety tech.
Yes, things like tunnel seismic prediction to look ahead for faults, special systems for steering the TBMs accurately, and ways to measure and fill any voids behind the tunnel lining. Cutting-edge stuff.
Really impressive engineering. Connects geography, S&T, economy.
All rolled into one massive infrastructure project.
Okay, that brings us to the end of this deep dive for today, May 3rd, Part 1. We've covered quite a spectrum.
We certainly have. From India's green energy ambitions with the GHCI, to the historical Chandola Lake, the strategic Vizhinjam Port, the concept of the orange economy, conservation of Palamu, Ukraine's vital minerals, the role of private members' bills, Indo-Pacific maritime security via IPMDA, the PMLA crackdown, and finally this remarkable Rishikesh-Karnaprayag tunnel.
Hopefully this provides you with valuable insights and saves you time in your UPSC preparation. Remember, some of these themes will likely recur.
That's right. Revision is key.
So as a final thought for you to ponder, considering India's significant investment in maritime infrastructure like Vizhinjam Port, alongside initiatives like IPMDA, what do you think are the most significant long-term shifts we might see in India's global trade patterns and its overall strategic position in global supply chains? Something to think about.
Good question. The implications could be quite far-reaching.
Absolutely. To keep getting this focused analysis, please do like this session and subscribe to the deep dive for future updates. We'll be back soon with Part 2.
Thanks for tuning in.